that whilst we're working ourselves out of the IMF program, and whilst we were taking all these decisions to stabilize our macroeconomy, we also decided to embark on a very aggressive program for economic transformation. One, beginning with industrial transformation. I mean, people hear about the 1 to 1 factory as the flagship component of our industrial transformation agenda. Yes, it is probably the most acknowledged component of the transformation, because what it seeks to do is now to build an industrial base of our economy to do three things. First, to be able to substitute local production for imports, that's import substitution, so that we can produce many of the things that we are importing. Secondly, also, to be able to add value to the natural resource endowment of every district, so that it's not industry just for Tema, Accra, Kumasi, and so on and so forth. And also to be able to export more and add to our foreign exchange reserves. And so you can see from the results, unparalleled in the history of our country since independence, that government is supporting the private sector to be able to establish these enterprises around the country. And as I speak now, to date, as of June 2020, we have 296 factories at various stages of implementation.
The NDC doesn't believe that.
Yes, and then out of that, 125 are currently operational. The NDC talks about it, and I've been to Parliament on several occasions to answer questions. They are unable to undermine the credibility of the program, because this is not about government establishing state enterprises. These are privately owned companies that have been established by the risk capital and ingenuity of Ghanaian entrepreneurs. So whether you like it or not, whether you politicize it or not, it's not about the government. But government created the environment to stimulate the interest of the private sector.
Okay. Let's take one factory. Let's take a Ekonfi Juice, for instance.
Yes.
So if you want to use a Ekonfi Juice to explain what you are saying, who owns a Ekonfi Juice?
Oh, it's a private company. It's a private. There's no government interest.
Government doesn't have interest in it.
No, the
but
government
who gave them
no
the money?
Yes, so there are incentives, and that's where the government factor comes in. Because if all these factories would have happened, they would have happened earlier than now. So government decided in supporting these companies to do a number of things. One is that we provide an interest subsidy to the banks to be able to provide competitive interest rates to the 1 to 1 factory. So for example, whilst the average interest rate will be about 22%, the interest subsidy provides loans through the banks at 10%.
It means government will pay the rest?
Yes, government pays the subsidy.
Okay.
Yes, pays the subsidy.
So people who want to set up factories can get access to these loans?
Yes, you can. Once you go through the review process and you are, as it were, accredited as a 1D1F company, then you are supported by one of our participating banks with a loan facility at an interest rate of 10%, which has been subsidized by the government.
Oh, that's
interesting. And then
so these 120 factories you talk about, they are privately owned?
You're privately owned.
Facilitated by government?
Facilitated by government.
That were not working before, but are working now?
Yes, so 60% of these one factory projects I'm talking about are new companies. And 40% are existing companies that were literally collapsing or had collapsed.
Oh, so that's what the NDC says. You're actually just turning around existing companies and calling them new companies.
But Paul, let's face it. We are talking about one district, one factory. I know you come from
Kwamo.
Now, if there is an existing factory in Kwamo that is facing severe challenges because of doomsday, because of the poor economic conditions during the NDC period, and government is now talking about supporting entrepreneurs to establish industries in every district to improve livelihoods across the country. Would it make sense that if there's an existing factory in your district, that because you want to establish a new one, you abandon that same Ghanaian entrepreneur whom you can support to revive his factory, and then you go and establish a new one? It doesn't make sense. So the program has always been clear. It is for both new industries and existing industries that would need.
So when you take a company like, say, Afanco 1968,
yes,
that has been doing egg crates.
Yes, you know about Afanco?
Yes.
Ah, and it looks like you.
Yeah, we read about them.
Yes,
very old company. That's why they do the egg crates.
Yes.
What do you do with them? Because I see now they are sort of coming back. They're advertising.
Yes, absolutely. So the problem of Afanco for many years had been the technology that they were using. You know, they were doing well when they were established, but with the improvements in technology, for them to be competitive, they needed to retool their company. And to retool, you need financing. And so that is why they would be an ideal candidate for 1D1F. So it's across the board, different sectors. About, again, 65 to 70% of the 1D1F companies are agro-processing companies. But there are others in different sectors.